I don't understand why she does not extend that way of clear thinking into other aspects of her campaigning strategy. Let's take a look. Yeah, by the way, things are not looking too great for the Democratic Party. And it's gotten, as I said, post DNC, I told you if they literally cut away at the progressive momentum that they have and message to the middle, they are going to hemorrhage support. And that is precisely what is going on. That, alongside the lack of change in terms of America's foreign policy, which many people do care about, obviously it's not the top priority for a lot of Americans, but it is the top priority for a lot of Americans in key states, big constituencies, for understandable reasons. They will just cut away at their momentum. When they go with drill, baby, drill, you're literally losing out on a lot of young voters who do care about their future. Anyway, here it is. Union households, the Democrat margin.
Data points that just jump off the screen should set off sirens. All right, this is union households. This is Democratic margin in presidential election. It ain't what it used to be. You know, you go back to 1992, Bill Clinton won that union vote by 30 points. Hillary Clinton only won it by 12 points back in 2016. That was the lowest mark for a Democrat since 1984, Mondale versus Reagan. But look at where Kamala Harris is.
There's not way to flip this. Look at Hillary, look at Kamala. It's pure misogyny. Or union voters also vote on the same basis. Like the union voters also vote along the same exact material conditions that everybody else votes on. The reason why they went for Biden was because Biden launched a strong pro-labor, pro-union campaign. Union votes were hemorrhaged because of this guy, okay? That guy right there is the major reason why union votes and union support went down, okay? NAFTA. Donald Trump, as a matter of fact, used that perfectly against Hillary Clinton by tying the same last name, if you recall, back in 2016. Joe Biden picked up the pieces again by putting up a strong front for labor unions and labor protections. Having said that, however, in the 4 years of his administration, union voters, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, still obviously respond to the economic shock of real negative wages, like inflation eating away at their marginal amount of wage growth. So regardless of the pro-labor stance of the Joe Biden administration, labor union voters are still normal people who are like, well, the economy isn't doing too sweet, is it? If Kamala Harris doesn't make a bold and radical shift in her messaging strategy to directly respond to their interests and keep saying opportunity economy, opportunity economy, opportunity economy, we're going to give $50,000 in tax cuts to startups, and that's her economic policy, when she has some decent ones that she doesn't emphasize at all, you're obviously going to experience this kind of support hemorrhaging.
Today, she's only leading by 9 points. That would be the worst.
Oh, also beyond that, yeah, I mean, union voters, just like everybody else, are not just like victims of their own material conditions, but they're also subject to reactionary propaganda. And yeah, misogyny plays a role too. Make no mistake. But let's dial it back for a second and talk about something that Kamala Harris has done very well. Kamala Harris, unlike Hillary Clinton, is not a white woman. She is a black woman. And as a black woman, she knew that if she was like, I'm a black woman, that's why you got to vote for me, in the same way that Hillary Clinton said, I'm a woman, that's why you're with her, that's why you're on team woman, she knew that that wasn't going to be a successful strategy, which is why she never did that. And I've always given her roses for that reason. You can't get away with that because ain't nobody's on team black woman. Let's be real. That's not going to be a successful way to reach out to voters. And it wasn't a successful way for Hillary Clinton to demonstrably reach out to voters either. But she, at least as a white woman, thought that it was a successful way to reach out to voters. She was wrong. I don't understand why she does not extend that way of clear thinking into other aspects of her campaigning strategy. That's all I'm saying. She has, like, obviously the recognition to not run with I'm with her as a successful campaign strategy. She's not doing that. So why not also offer something for people to vote for?
Democratic performance in a generation, 10 points off the mark of Joe Biden, who, of course, won 4 years ago.
Barack Obama also, as a black man, didn't do that. Like, there's a difference between going and talking to like black podcasters or going on black radio shows, black and brown radio shows, and talking about your background versus the national campaign and what you're putting forward. Like, Barack Obama didn't do the vote for me. It's if you're pro-black, like, he didn't do that. Why didn't he do that? Because black people know that America is a white supremacist nation. Okay, no matter how conservative a black person could be, they still know that that's not going to be a successful strategy. Okay,
Was sort of that union guy, Union Joe, right? Won it by 19 points. She's 10 points off his mark, and the worst in a generation if this, in fact, holds, Sarah.
It is interesting to note that the difference between this, and Biden still won.
Still won.
But those numbers are significantly down. All right, talk to me about manual labor, those folks who went to trade schools.
Yeah, those folks who use their hands. I think a lot of people oftentimes conflate the union vote with those who use their hands. Mike Rowe, of course, has been arguing more people should go to trade schools, more people should get a vocational degree. Look at this margin. This, to me, oh boy, does this tell you about the state of our politics now versus back in the early 1990s. Margin among vocational and trade school grads in pre-election polling. Bill Clinton was leading that vote over George H.W. Bush by 7 points. Look at where Donald Trump is today over Kamala Harris, a 31-point advantage. When I think people think of the working class, they...
Okay, another aspect of this also that you have to focus on is that if neither party is like adequately addressing and making a case for improving the material conditions of workers, like, they also have a litany of different issues that they care about. The Republican Party does a decent job, at the very least, of like fighting for those things that people, I guess, care about. The Republican Party also lies, in my opinion, better than the Democratic Party does in terms of like how they're going to help the working class. They lie all the time when they say, oh, we're going to cut your taxes and that's going to somehow benefit you. But the reality is it works. And the Democrats don't respond to that by being like, hey, they're literally running your pockets, dumbass, to give the richest people the biggest tax breaks. And you're voluntarily going along with it. They are afraid of how successful tax cuts are. So they run their own version of tax cuts. They just are nerdier. Okay? Because like when you look at Kamala Harris's policies, like there aren't a lot of subsidies in there. It's mostly tax cuts for people who want to start their own podcast business. Like, obviously, vocational workers are not going to, trade school graduates are not going to be like, oh shit, dude. Thank God there is a $50,000 tax cut for someone who wants to start their own goddamn small business. No, they look at the situation. They also have the capacity to be just as dumb as any of us. And they go, all right, well, I want my treats, and Trump is going to, give me my treats. He's also going to own the libs.
They think of people who use their hands, and we know that Donald Trump has been going after that vote, and he is in a very, very strong position, more so perhaps than any other bloc. The folks who go to trade school, vocational school, that has moved from being a core Democratic group to now being a core group of...
Same thing happening with the Latino vote. Exactly. I actually disagree on that one. A lot of trade school grads or small business HVAC folks, that's what they care about. You're literally wrong on this. There was a poll that David Dayen brought up. Small businesses don't care about a $50,000 tax cut more so than they care about access to credit. So you're also objectively wrong on that as well. The $50,000 small business tax cut is literally for nobody. No, they don't care about the dumbass startup thing. They just care about small business focused stuff. Oh, you're saying they care about small businesses, like a small business focus. I used to work for a small HVAC company, and I can assure you he hates Kamala. Yeah.
Donald Trump's massive amount of support among the working class.
All right, let's move on to voters of color. And there's a very specific group that you looked at. And what are you seeing there?
Yeah, we've been noting on this program, right, that Donald Trump seems to have been having some real impact among voters of color, getting into that traditional Democratic support. And I was very interested to see this because we're talking about the working class, right? So this is the margin among non-college graduates, all right, the voters of color. You go back 4 years ago, look at that. Joe Biden won that group by 45 points. Look at where Kamala Harris's support is today. She's still leading amongst that group But that lead is down 17 points to just 28 points. And I will note that the margin among voters of color who actually graduate college has only been changed by 5 points. 5 points compared to 4 years ago. The reason Donald Trump is doing so well amongst voters of color is because he has really gone in and grabbed a lot of voters that he didn't previously have among those who didn't graduate college. And this is part of a larger trend that we're seeing throughout our politics era, in which Republicans, specifically Donald Trump, is doing very, very well among working class voters, whether they were in unions, whether they went to trade school, or whether they're voters of color. The fact is, Donald Trump seems to have gone into a hotbed of traditional Democratic support and made a lot of movement in ways I don't think a lot of people would have thought when he went down that escalator just back in 2015.
Lol, stream something else. You're right. What are some Trump policies you align with? Absolutely nothing. Dog, I don't even align with the Democrats. Why the f would I align with the Republicans? I don't think people understand this. Like, I don't align with the Democrats because of their closeness to the Republican Party. Why the f would I ever align with the Republicans? They're absolute ass. And it's ironic because technically from my tax bracket, if I was a selfish person who didn't care about the long-term stability of this country and improving everybody's lives in this country, then both parties are great for me, but I don't give a shit. I don't mind paying taxes. I think it's patriotic to do so. I pay European-style taxes, as a matter of fact, living in Los Angeles, California. I wanted to go to actually fixing the goddamn roads. I wanted to go towards fixing our goddamn infrastructure. I wanted to go towards building public housing and combating homelessness that way. I wanted to go to education. I despise the way that we manage the funds that we generate in this goddamn country, but nothing changes. Anyway, if Kamala loses, who do the libs blame first? What do you mean, brother? You know who they blame first. They blame the left.